yourself up to suggestions.
But see, even if you turn off the TV, you meet people.
Yeah, people say.
You go to a store to buy something, to buy your food, groceries.
I was talking to a good friend of mine who's a mortgage banker, and she said, it's scary times. She said, this is the scariest times I've ever seen. She said, I know people who had jobs. One day they're applying for a mortgage, the next day they have no job, they're out on the street, they're not even in their house. Those kind of urban legends swirl through the population. Haven't you heard about somebody that had a problem?
Are there some of those legends real? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. There are real thousands of people out there which now they have a job, now they have no job.
Should you ignore them?
There are thousands of people who had a house, now they have no house.
Should you ignore them? No. Should you ignore the warnings? Absolutely
Should
not.
you pretend it's not happening? No.
But should you focus on them? If you focus on them, if you take your focus and you open up your suggestion, yourself to suggestion of the doom, you're going to create gloom and doom in your life. Fear is the greatest enemy that we can conquer.
Well, the only thing we need to fear is fear. That's
Franklin Roosevelt.
And that's absolutely true. But see, if you live in an environment, we all do, by the way, and we all do, and it's not only in America, as I said, we travel to Australia, we travel to Europe, we'll go to Japan this year, and we notice that...
We have good friends in the UK, they say that things are awful.
If you live in an environment where we are bombarded with these scary, fearful things that come on to us from different directions, and you buy into that, your choices, this is important, your choices,
if you buy into fear,
your choices are substantially different than someone who lives in an environment of opportunity.
You cut off your choices, you cut off your options, you cut off
your behavior will be different.
Your behavior reflects your focus. So if you focus on what you don't want, or if you focus on, because listen, I've got to admit, this is a scary world. It wasn't as scary in the 80s.
At least we didn't think it was. At least we didn't think it was.
At least, and I'm not saying you should do what we're doing, because there's enough of us. But well, I have enough of me.
I don't have enough of me.
Oh, good. Excellent. Yeah.
It goes,
We'll talk about that later too.
So we notice that when we don't train, and we guard each other's thinking
we
very
take
carefully.
December, January, we take
and
it off.
we check the, I have to admit, we don't watch the news regularly, but we check the news on the internet. We look at different websites. We turn the TV on from time to time because we want to know what's going on. We want to know what's happening.
And I think you need to know.
We want to be informed. But it's very interesting. So we turn the TV on, we decide to watch the news, and in 10 minutes, our conscious minds go, okay, this is just scare tactic. We know consciously. But I don't know if you experience this, but the emotional state inside changes. Your mood changes. And that's because the unconscious mind gets really nervous. It gets really, I don't want to hear this.
The mood changes, the whole thing changes because, again, the critical faculty has been bypassed.
Exactly.
And the basis
and this
of
is
programming in this case is
so easily. You have no idea how easy it is for the unconscious mind to accept one little thing, and yet you're affected by it. You are affected by it.
So what do you do?
So, yeah, what do you do?
What do you do?
So Jacob Boehm.
Do you guys know who Jacob Boehm was? Jacob Boehm was a 15th century writer in esoterics.
15th century, that's a while ago.
And he said the great secret of esoteric, this is, by the way, great advice. He said the great secret of esoteric studies is, in all things, to walk differently from the ways of the world. That's a very meaningful piece. See, look around the world and ask yourself, how do these institutions scaring the hell out of us, how does that improve my life?
I don't think we said it already, but this talk is not about positive thinking. No, really. This talk is not about positive thinking.
This talk's about what do you do with your mind?
Getting out of fear and getting back into feeling inside you, the core of who you are, feeling powerful. Because that's what it's all about. So, and we have to look
at... It's about finding the light. It's about finding the light when there's darkness.
Correct. Yeah. You can say it that way very well. So, there's a paradoxical thing here. So on one hand, we say exactly what we just said 1 moment ago. On the other hand, we're looking outside and we see there is a disappearance of wealth that it's real and it's happening, because it's happening to
the
people
stock market.
we know.
The stock market did go down from 12,000 to 8,000.
There are trillions of dollars. No. We had the bailout of 700 billion, so forget it. There are trillions of dollars that have disappeared overnight. Where did they go, by the way?
Yeah, did you ever contemplate that issue?
Where did it go?
Where did it go? The Swiss bank.
Yes.
Where did it
So
go?
there's this paradoxical state. We're talking about suspension of disbelief. We're talking about the fear tactics because we watch more, we buy more, etc., etc. A young woman in Australia, she was hired last year as a consultant for a recruitment agency. She came in the company and she's the top producer. She absolutely went to the top producer, and I think it was a mistake for her boss to fire her. But
Her boss fired her last week.
fired her because she was the newest one in the company. Now she was the top producer for that company.
The boss.
They still fired her.
The boss bought into the fear,
Yeah.
and he fired his top producer, which I think is.
It's absolutely stupid, but that's another story. But based on her performance, she didn't think that they'll fire her, because the other people in the company that don't produce even half of what she was producing. So people do, as you look in society, mainstream society, this, I'm not talking about us here, I'm talking outside. People who are not trained, people who are not thinking differently.
Don't you think differently from the people around you?
As you look around, there is fear present. And in fact, there are people who live in an unbelievable amount of fear, and they call it even panic. Some people call it terror. They go so far, the fear becomes
We
so
even have
big
a war on terror,
and some of them...
which is misnamed, but it should be a war on terrorism.
Terror is, yeah.
But it's interesting that they call it the war on terror.
Listen carefully to the words, yeah? Just listen
You listen to the
carefully.
linguistics. It's interesting they call it a war on terror, because it should be a war on terrorism.
Yeah.
Oh, it shouldn't be. Oh. See? You can't have a war on a process.
On a process.
Except in the 21st century. Oh, by the way, do you think the bailout's going to trickle down to you?
I mean, it happened in September or October. How much did you benefit out of it?
Yeah, we're in a brand new age, and the age is one of you're going to have to fend for yourself. You're going to have to depend on yourself, especially
one
in
thing that
finances.
you may not have contemplated.
They're not going to bail you out.
Yeah, one thing that you may not have contemplated yet, and if you haven't, we're sorry to be the first one to bring this to your attention, or maybe we're not. I don't know. It depends how you take it. That the old times will never return.
By the way, the good old days weren't that good, and the old times.
No,
The old times aren't
we're
gonna be
witnessing
bad.
something unique in our history.
We've
This is not
made a shift.
1929 depression or whatever. This is not, because it's not happening in one country.
Remember, we said this.
It's happening around the world, and there are lots of talks. And not on conspiracy theory sides. There's a lot of talk for
We're not
present
conspiracy
heads of
theorists.
states and present politicians like Gordon Brown in the UK, like Bush Sr. in this country. Even by the time he was president, by the Prime Minister of Australia right now, which is Kevin Rudd, and they all call for a new world order.